Well, the crude inventories actually at the end of December was still fairly comfortable in the US, even though we did see that there was quite a drawdown in December. At the end of December, the crude inventories were still on the top end of the seasonal range, and crude inventories in Europe were still more than 10 million barrels higher compared to the year before. And going into 2014, it is expected that crude inventories will grow, at least in the first quarter and second quarter, because we should see increased supplies from the US and also from some of the countries like Libya that were having some production issues last year. So all this will add to supplies and should build crude inventories globally. China's demand for crude oil in December was quite strong and is expected to remain strong in January. Crude throughputs are already set to hit about 10.9 million barrels per day, potentially a record high. And going forward in 2014, China is planning to increase refining capacity. So this will mean increased crude imports into China. But China's demand for transport fuels, particularly diesel, is still weak because of slowing industrial activity. So the supplies of refined products in China will probably exceed domestic demand, which will mean that Chinese oil companies will have to increase their exports of refined oil products. I think that for Brent, we'll probably still be above $100, but it's going to be a bit difficult for Brent to strengthen above 150, 120 in the short term, I think, because we will see more supplies coming up from Mediterranean, from the US, and even potentially from Iraq and Iran. So it's going to be a fairly narrow range, I think. For natural gas, it's expected that in the short term, at least in the first quarter, that the prices will soften, because for North Asian, we're already seeing prices right now about $19 per million BTU, and going forward in February, March and April, the prices seem to be slipping. And that's just because of the end of winter demand. China and South Korea are no longer in the market, and supplies are expected to increase. So it's just seasonal easing in demand for gas.